Okay.
Hello and welcome back to the show. We have a wonderful panel tonight. We have a candidate for school committee. We have candidates for town meeting representative. We have the finance director of Chelmsford. So we're probably going to focus in on budget issues within Chelmsford and the local election coming up here in Chelmsford on April 7th. So with me tonight, we have John Sousa. How are you, John?
Good evening, Tom. How are you?
Thanks for being back. This is your 5th time on the show, John.
My pleasure.
Which
Great
is
to
great.
be back.
And so I got to have you more often. I think you're such a great guest on the show. And you're such a great finance director here in Chelmsford. How many years has it been, John?
Entering my 8th year. So.
Your 8th year as finance director. And were you with the cemetery prior to
Way
commission
back,
before
but
that?
before this, I was the assistant to the business manager for the Chelmsford Public Schools.
Wow,
back
so
in
you know all
06
about
and
that.
07, so.
Do they have an assistant business manager now?
Different title, school accountant.
Oh, they have a
Yes,
school
but
accountant?
it's the same position, just different name, a different
Who's
title.
the school accountant now?
Lauren Seeley.
Oh, her
Yes.
name hasn't
She
come
works
up in the
with-
news much lately, has it?
Here and there, she works very closely for Frank Antonelli, the interim business manager.
Yes, wonderful. Well, maybe later on the show we could talk about the search for the business manager.
Sure.
I know Annita had some nice comments about that at a school committee meeting a while ago. So thanks for being here, John.
My pleasure.
And we have my friend Angie Taranto with us again. How are you,
Good.
Angie?
I'm great. How are you?
Good.
Good.
It's a 24th time on the show, Angie.
Wow.
The 4th highest. You're tied with Charlie Wojcik
Oh,
for the
good.
4th highest appearances on the show.
That's good.
And there's only 9 people that have hit 20 or more appearances. So, but you're up there.
And I haven't beaten Bill Dalton yet, though.
Not
have I?
yet, no. But if we keep going, because Bill moved to Florida.
I know,
so
I
he hasn't
know
been
that.
on in
But
a
we
while.
always kid about
Yeah,
that.
we
'cause-
do,
'cause
yes.
Bill always, he must be up in the 30s.
Yes,
somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
just
okay.
about 30. And so Angie is a Precinct 8 town meeting
Right.
representative running for re-election
Yes,
this
I
year,
am.
as am I in Precinct
Right.
9.
Yep.
And Angie's, everyone knows, a former school committee person for how many years, Angie?
12.
12 years,
years.
wow. Also a longtime teacher and dean
Right.
at the Chelmsford school system and at
Yep.
the high school.
Yep, that's right.
In fact, you even helped one of our panelists on the show tonight, Annita Tanini, right, as one of your students.
She was
there
one
at
of
the
my
school.
students, yeah.
Great.
Just
So
a couple of years ago.
Yeah, right. Well, thanks for being here, Angie.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
And we have my friend Kathy Duffett with us again. How are you, Kathy?
I'm fine. Thanks for having me again.
Well, it's your 19th time, Kathy, so one more, and you'll make this illustrious list here. With, there's only 9 names on it. You'll be the 10th one pretty soon.
Oh, it's better than being on whatever that night show guy does, the top 10 list or whatever.
Oh, David Letterman? Oh, the top list?
I appreciate this much better than being on the David
Yeah,
list.
yeah, because that's usually funny stuff about things or people or whatever. So thanks for being here, Kathy.
Thank you.
You're a town meeting representative of Precinct 7, also former school committee person for
Yeah.
how many years, Kathy?
6.
6 years, nice. And so you're very involved in the town. I think you're on the Democratic Town Committee.
I'm on the
and
Democratic
all
Town
kinds of
Committee.
things.
I'm on the League of Women Voters. I'm on the Finance Committee now. So
The Finance Committee, that's keeping you busy too. Oh my
yes,
God.
It's, yes, it's a little more interesting than I expected. So.
And the League of Women Voters, I think, are hosting their candidates night
Yes.
on March 25th this year, I believe, on a Wednesday night at the Chelmsford Police Station starting at 7 p.m. Is that right, Kathy?
I believe that is right.
Great. I don't know. We're trusting my memory, so.
That's pretty good. I just remember that it was a Wednesday night.
Okay. Well, thanks for being here, Kathy.
Thank you.
And for the second time on the show, we have my friend Maureen with us. Maureen Foley, how are things going, by the way?
You know what, Tom, as we're filming this, it's in the middle of all the snow.
Yes.
I've
yeah.
just been telling people I'm starting to lose my sense of humor. I know
Oh,
that's
no.
not, I know it's not a good thing. I'm hanging on. I'm trying, but yeah.
Well, you did such a great job on your first appearance on the show, just maybe 6 months ago or whatever,
It was
9
just-
months ago.
Yeah, just before the elections.
Oh, okay.
Before when
Yeah,
I was
that's right,
running for
before you
town
ran,
meeting
and
rep.
I
That's
told
right.
you were going to win,
You
and,
did,
and you did, and
yes.
so you're town meeting representative for
Yes.
Precinct 5.
Correct.
And you do go up to the microphone sometimes at town meeting with some very
Yes.
interesting talks. So
I know. Since I last was on this show, I've been in front of a lot of microphones.
yes.
I would not have guessed that. I would not have guessed
Really?
that.
Well, because
Yeah.
you're prominent in the Chelmsford library system, though, right? Don't you?
Yeah.
Aren't you a head of a department or something?
Yes, I've been the head of the children's department for quite a while now.
Could you say how many years?
Well, let's see, I've been with the library, I think, like close to 18 years now, in the children's department, maybe about 14 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
Really?
maybe.
Wow.
Yeah,
Very
That's
nice.
wonderful, Maureen.
yeah, yeah.
So yesterday, because of the snow, the library was closed.
That's right.
On February 9th.
Yeah.
And we're taping this on February
Right,
10th.
right.
So were you back at work today?
Oh, sure, 8 a.m. I was back to work today. And at least we were open during the weekend. We were open Saturday and we were open Sunday. So a lot of people got the things that they needed to make it through Monday without us. Yeah.
I was just there before the show tonight. I'm on the way over. I dropped off some things, picked up some things, said hello to all my friends at the library, or the ones at the desks anyway, up front.
Well, I mean,
But it's
Tom,
a
that's
wonder-
one of the ways I know you when you're
Yeah,
a
that's
trustee.
right, because I went in.
so-
Yeah, I used to be a
yeah,
trustee as
right.
well. So, yeah, we'll talk about the candidates too. We
Yep.
have 2 candidates at the moment for library trustee this year, and there's 2 positions open. So thanks for being here, Maureen.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks. And we have my friend Annita Tanini with us. How are you, Annita?
Good, thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Your first time on this show. It's
Yes.
wonderful.
Yep.
Hopefully the first of many appearances. Because you've been, I think, very active in the town. Like the last year, you've really speaking at a lot of the school committee meetings, now running for
Yeah.
school committee person.
Yep.
So we'll talk about that on the show.
Yeah, I've been raised, born and raised in Chelmsford. And
Really?
yeah, I've lived here all my entire life, and I've started paying a little bit more attention to what's been going on, and it's the right time for me to get involved.
Wonderful. And at the moment, it looks like we're going to have 2 candidates, you and Sal Lapoli,
Yep.
for one seat that Nick DeSilvio used to,
Yep.
or is holding at the moment, but he won't be running for re-election. So Sal still has to turn in his papers, and he has 2 more days to do so, but I heard that he's going to do it. I heard he was out gathering signatures recently.
Yep.
So he's probably going to do, so probably we'll have a competitive race.
Yeah.
So that's going to be very interesting. Have you ever run for a competitive race like this before?
No, I've never run for anything. So this
Really?
is
Wow.
all, baptism by fire, I
Yeah,
guess,
right.
and it's exciting. It's it's a learning experience,
Yes, yeah.
and I'm really looking forward to it. Actually, yeah.
And so you're big in finance, aren't you?
Yes.
Aren't you a vice president of some company or something?
Yeah, I'm a senior vice president at a startup which is doing very well in Boston called Fixu.
And do you commute to Boston like this past week and everything?
I will be tomorrow. I haven't Monday or today. But yeah, I commute 4 days a week usually, and I do work 1 day a week from home.
Nice. Do you drive in, Annita?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have a parking place
I do.
designated for you?
I do. I do. I
Wonderful.
pay the hefty fee that you have to pay in
Yes,
Boston.
yeah.
Oh, a hefty fee to park.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you need that because you don't want to be all around looking for a parking place on the street or something.
Yeah, and I know every way to get into the city if anybody wants to get in.
Wow, wonderful.
Yeah.
So how do you like that position?
I love it. I love it. It's a great
Okay.
company. It's an exciting company. It's in a dynamic space.
Yeah.
It's in the mobile advertising space, which is really hot right now.
Yeah,
There's
mobile
a lot of
advertising.
Yeah.
Are they a public company? Have they issued an IPO yet?
No, they're on the path to go public, so they're hoping to file an S1 later this year, early next year. So there's definitely that path.
Nice. It'd be nice if they give all the employees, the officers, some equity, right?
Yeah.
Some shares.
And they typically do, right? In
Yeah.
startups, that's part of your compensation.
Yeah.
Is you're not in there just for the paycheck. You're in there for the upside of it.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So are you also a CPA, Annita?
I'm not
No?
a CPA. I'm an MBA.
Oh, an MBA. Well,
Yeah.
me too. Yeah.
Me
That's
too.
more important. Hey!
And me.
4 MBAs anymore?
I always
No,
refer
I'm
to
a-
as my big
I'm a-
asset.
Do you have master's
I have a
degrees now?
master's degree.
Look at all
So it's
master's
a very
degrees in
good.
this show. See, I wasn't kidding when I said it's an august body. I said that when we were taking
There
the
you go.
picture. So, but now it's on TV. It's an august body, a very distinguished panel. Well, thank you so much for being here, Annita.
Thank you for
We're going to call on you a lot tonight to introduce a lot of these topics about the school department and the budget and everything. But maybe if we could start with. Well, first, why don't we talk a little bit about the election, since I put that on the agenda for tonight. For selectmen, we apparently have 5 candidates for 2 positions. George Dixon and Pat Wojcik currently hold those 2 positions as selectmen. and they are both saying they're running for re-election, and they've turned in their papers, I believe. So those are the two. Then you have 3 challengers, assuming they all turn in their papers. And Louis Marino has turned in his papers already, so he's definitely one. And Laura Merrill, who's a town meeting representative, I believe precinct 2, is another one. I think she's going to turn in her papers. And Sandy Martinez is another one who used to be a town meeting rep. She ran for state senate a number of times as a Republican nominee. So she I was gathering signatures this weekend, so I think she might be again. So why don't we begin a little bit, see if anybody has any comments about the selectman race here in Chelmsford. If you don't have any thoughts, that's fine.
Well, I would say I think it's great that we have so many people throwing their hats in the
Right.
ring. That is good to have a robust, energetic campaign season. I think it's very interesting, the people that have stepped forward. And personally, I'm going to be supporting George and Pat. I think they've worked hard for the community, and I'd like to see them reelected.
Wonderful. Any other comments?
No, I just agree with Kathy. It's you know, the biggest complaint we always had was there was no contest.
Yeah.
And people that were shooing in, people then felt, as they always do after the election, you know, they don't have a say, and of course you do. You vote, and then if you want to step up, and I want to just jump ahead to the school committee, if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just happy to see 2 young people running, because again, this is something that I have been trying to push, and I even think Kathy, myself, you know, when we were on the board and everything, we wanted some young people who grew up in the town to get involved. You know what the system is, you know what you want, you did well, and now just to see two graduates coming back and to offer their assistance. And I think it's great. It's finally great. I like to see some more involvement. I don't know the people who are running for town meeting reps. I haven't seen the list to see if there's any of the young people, but I am happy about that very much. So.
Yeah, wonderful. So any other comments about school committee or selectmen?
Well, I really think that I'm going to tag on Angie. I'm really happy that you're running. Good for you. It's very brave to
Thank you.
have something in the community inspire you. Something has happened. You're inspired, and you're throwing your hat in the ring. And I'm happy for you, and I think it's a very brave thing to do, to put yourself out there and run. And I'm actually very excited about Sal running. He has been a long-term supporter of the schools. He has a very positive attitude, big volunteer person, and I think it's great that we have 2 good candidates, because that doesn't always happen.
Right.
And I think it's good for the community. It's particularly in this particular time, with all the controversy going on in the school department, that people are actually there's going to be a contest.
Right.
So I think that's good.
It is.
And I do think they're 2 great candidates, and I wish you great luck. But I just want to say that I've decided to support Sal. He's contacted me, and I've known him for a long time and worked with him. So sometimes there's just 2 great people, and you have to choose. So I don't want you to feel funny about that, but I wanted to get that out there. I wish you great
That's
luck,
fine.
and I'm
That's
proud
true.
of you for
That's
running.
true.
Just
It's a tough thing.
as we were coming in today, Annita and I were in the parking lot, and so I said to her, we just met on October 2nd, when we both had gone to the Finance Committee meeting to try to wrap our minds around what was happening with the schools. And so one of the reasons that I am happy that she's been involved and she's gone to all the meetings and is really up to speed on all these issues, and then to take it the step further,
Right.
and to commit your life. It seems to me these days, the school committee, it's practically their life, to put that much time and energy and to try to get engaged and help with the situation,
Yeah.
I'm glad to say that I knew you went.
I think you're a great candidate.
Yeah.
Right, they are. And I think, well, it's good and bad, but I think they're seeing what they can or could face with all the uproar that we have now.
Yes, that's
Because it's not just that smooth sailing,
Right.
you know, that you say,
Right.
okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do that.
Right.
I mean, you're getting the taste of
Yes,
what
that's right.
it's what it's
Yes.
really like.
Yep.
Sometimes behind the scenes, because people out there don't
Yep.
realize.
Yes.
But now everything is up front, and I think
Yeah.
you know you're committed. Sal's definitely committed, and that's what we want. You know, to get these.
Well, that's what's exciting about
That's
it,
what
right?
it is.
Like,
Yeah.
because if it wasn't, I'm always one of these people that likes a challenge, which is why
Sure.
my last 10 years of my career I've been in the startup, right, world. It's very challenging because things are just unknown. And I think that's what kind of got me excited about this, is there's an opportunity to really change things and kind of, there is a challenge right now.
Yeah.
And I think if it wasn't a challenge, it probably wouldn't be as exciting. So I think that's
right.
really kind of
Right.
what gets me.
So,
Yes.
I just want to say, even though Anita and I live in the same general part of town, I had never met Anita before last fall, and I want to commend her for attending virtually every
Yep.
school committee meeting, finance committee meeting,
Right.
and immersing herself in the problem long before that I heard that she announced her candidacy.
Right.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a huge commitment and time and
It
effort.
is huge.
Right.
Wow, that's amazing.
And
that,
yeah, in fact, I remember when I first met you at the FinCom meeting, I didn't even know how they worked.
Right.
And I was talking out of order.
Oh, yeah, that would be just like me to mention it.
No, but I mean, again,
That's
It
right.
is. It is. It's a learning.
it's a
We
whole
learned
learning
a lot.
experience that as a
Right.
citizen, sometimes you just don't really realize.
That's right.
yes.
Well, it's difficult too sometimes when you're on the school committee, when you have the open sessions, and the school committee will say, "We're here to listen tonight."
Yes.
You know, the five.
Yeah.
And these people are coming at you, and we already said we're not going to react to it.
Yeah.
It's difficult, you know,
Yeah.
to hold back and everything else. But then later on, you can make your contacts, and you know, after it's over, then sometimes we summarize. But we had to sit there. And
Yeah. More than one occasion.
yeah, yes, we do.
Merry Christmas to us all.
But it's fun.
Yeah,
That's fun.
and I'm also so thrilled about the school committee candidates. Having two great candidates to compete for this seat is a wonderful thing.
Yes.
Because, as Angie said, I think this environment, I've never seen such criticism laid upon the school committee in a public way. I don't know if you ever saw that, Kathy or Angie, but
Well,
I
we
haven't
did.
seen it.
We had the,
We
uh,
did with
Christmas-
the Byam School
the Byam
situation.
I remember that, yes,
But I
that
don't
controversy.
think it was as-
It wasn't as
This is
bad.
very,
no.
I think this is
It wasn't
worse.
as bad.
Oh, yes.
I think this
Oh,
is
yes.
very,
Oh, yes.
I'll agree.
I don't know, more mean-spirited in the tone.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think actually that is a shame, because I think we ought to realize that you're volunteering your time
Right.
should you get elected. Everybody's volunteering their time, they're
right.
doing their best. Nobody went in evil incarnate. Let me.
Yep.
So I think we ought to remember that they're citizens. They're all doing their best, and we got to give them a little respect.
I
And
do, too.
actually, I think I wish people would do the same to the superintendent. It is in a difficult situation. He's a person who's lived in this community for 20 years. He has 2 children.
That's right. That's right.
A little,
Yes,
No, it
yes.
is. It's
a little
difficult.
toning down the
Right.
might be nice.
Right.
Yes.
And I think, well, we're on that subject now. We
Right.
might as well I just think, you know, the people that have confronted me and talked with me about it and so forth, why the school committee hasn't made any decisions and everything else. I wouldn't want them to make a decision based on not having full facts, all of the facts.
Yeah.
And it's taken time. I think if you're going to make some kind of a decision, you want to have it with boom, boom, boom. You know what's occurred, you know. And I know it's frustrating to people because how long are you going to carry this on? How long are you going to carry it on?
Yes.
But they have to feel comfortable when they make whatever decision they're going to make.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and you know, the same thing with Frank. He's going to have his day too.
Yes.
That he has to present, you know. But I don't know if they're still, you know, where they are. You know, as far as they can't talk about it yet. You know, I don't know. You know, but
Well, the audit did come out, which
yeah,
we'll
that
talk
came
about.
out with all the facts, but
Yeah.
at the same time, though, you know, what facts are right, what facts aren't right, and, you know, I just thank Mr. Antonelli. I just
And
think
he's
because
fantastic.
the last Tuesday night when he came out with his new way of doing the budget, I was in awe. I'm home listening, and I'm saying, why didn't we think of it? You know,
Right.
I mean, to have every single item identified, which eliminated any confusion or anything else. Like the salaries, everybody's salaries listed.
Yes.
It's
And even having the principals responsible
Right,
for their budgets,
yes,
because that's
yes.
also,
Yeah.
that's very good because it gives them an opportunity to grow. And then if, from a career path, right?
Yeah.
If they want, they're now managing a budget.
Exactly.
They're held accountable to a budget.
That's right.
So that helps, groom them as well
Yeah.
for
It
the
was good.
succession and what have you. Should you need to? So whoever walks in to that type of role is not, this is the first time I'm ever dealt with a budget.
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
think it's
True.
really good for them.
Yes.
I thought so.
I
thought
think
it was
too,
great.
it's a great thing. I mean, now they got an accurate assessment. Everything is actually allocated correctly, which is a
Correctly.
mammoth
That
job.
was another thing. Yeah.
And now you know how much it costs to run a school department.
Right.
Right.
The bad news is you can't afford it.
Yeah, 'cause
But the good news is, I mean, there's no problem to me saying, this is, now you've gone through this work, this is what it actually is going to take. And now you can look at it and make decisions and have an accurate business model. So, I mean, that's all very positive, I think.
yes.
I think so
yeah.
too. There was a lot that
So-
came out of it.
Yeah. Well, speaking about Anita's campaign, I think you have a campaign party coming up, don't you, Anita? March 1st, is it?
Yes.
At Princeton
At the
Station?
Princeton Station, yes.
And what are the hours of that?
I believe it is between 2 and 5.
So it's
though
the
I'm not-
afternoon? you
Yeah,
think,
it's
around
in the
there?
afternoon, but it's
On
not.
March
concrete.
1st, great,
Yeah.
thank you. So you're looking forward to the debates?
I am.
There'll be a whole bunch of them.
I'm very
Michelle.
nervous about them because I've never
Yeah.
done a debate, but
Yeah.
no, this is great.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
it's a learning experience, and if you're not challenged and pushed out of your comfort zone, you're just not moving forward. So I like that. I like being challenged. It just makes
good.
me better
Yeah.
as a person, and I can take the skills that I learned doing this, and it goes into my career. It just makes
Yes.
me a
Right.
better,
That's right.
vice president.
will be.
So yeah.
And what does your company think about you running for townwide office? Do they
Oh,
know?
they are all behind me,
Good,
100%.
good.
Yeah,
That's
they love
wonderful.
it. Yeah.
How big how many employees in that company, by the way?
About 400
400?
internationally.
So do some live in Chelmsford, or just a few maybe?
I don't think we have. I think I'm the only person in Chelmsford
Oh,
because
I
it's
see.
a very young company.
Yeah.
Probably one of the oldest. There is
Wow.
someone who's on school committee in Belmont.
Oh, nice.
So I've talked to him a lot, and
Oh,
we've
good.
talked about
Wow.
Yeah,
things.
that's good.
Yeah, though his campaign and drama, they don't seem to have that as much as
Oh, they don't have as much drama as we do?
No,
And I don't think I asked you previously, but do you have children in the school system?
I do. I have 2 children, Andre, who's in the 3rd grade at Center,
grade,
and
oh.
Dante, who is in the 5th grade at McCarthy.
3rd and 5th grade, wonderful. So you get to see what's going on, and you really get to experience firsthand when you have children in the school system like that.
As well as my sister, who is
oh,
a biology teacher, a PhD
school.
at the high school.
Did I meet her at the senior center
You
at the
did.
Chowder
Yes,
Fest?
that's the picture
Oh, I
we
took her
took. You did,
pictures.
yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, so I'm really proud of her.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did I ask you, what made you decide to run for school committee? Did something trigger you? Was it this whole budget problem, and which we'll get into in a minute?
I mean, that was probably the trigger that got me more in tune. But I've always felt indebted to Chelmsford, to the Chelmsford Public Schools. When I started school at Westlands, my parents being Italian, I didn't speak English. So I struggled with English and reading all through
Are you talking kindergarten, first grade? Right
kindergarten. I didn't, Title I.
So you spoke Italian,
I
which
did.
is a beautiful language. by
It
the way.
is, but it doesn't help you much in kindergarten.
What was it like when you couldn't understand English? Basically, you're in a classroom, and did you just struggle, or did they make
all I
special?
remember is going to the CAF at Westlands, and in the back, up on the stage area, there
Yes.
were computers.
Right.
And I used to have to go practice English, like on the computers, which was at that time a huge thing, because kids didn't get, there weren't computers back then, right?
Right.
So this
Yeah.
was, kind of cool. But I don't really remember much. I do have 2 letters from, I guess, my teacher going to my parents. One said, please practice regular words, like chair, table with Annita at home. She needs day-to-day words, right? Stuff that maybe you don't learn in school. Then the second letter is, please practice, these words with someone who speaks English as their native language. So I don't know what I was saying when I was doing that.
Yeah, because I met your parents at the Chowder. They're wonderful people
Yeah.
at the Chowder Fest on Saturday. and along with your sister and your son was there, I think, too, or both
Yeah.
your children?
No, the whole family was there.
whole
My
family, yeah,
niece
was
and
wonderful.
nephew, and yeah.
So they're wonderful people, your parents
Oh,
and your
thank you.
family, and your sister was very nice as well. Well, so we'll talk more about it a little bit later, but I thought if we could ask John to introduce us as to what currently is the status of this whole budget situation here in Chelmsford.
So,
Let's go.
Tom, just to recap, so in January was a busy month. We had the John Sullivan from Lansing Heath present the audit findings to the joint meeting between the selectmen, the finance committee, and the school committee. And so he won't go through that whole report, but he basically spelled out many of the recommendations, the shortcomings that he found. And so if we go back to November at town meeting, the town meeting provided about $792,000 somewhere in there of funding to amend the school budget, so that hopefully that they'll be able to make it through fiscal year 15.
Yeah.
And that money that included a buffer, as I recall, of about $500,000. Where we are today, I think at one of the most recent finance committee meetings, the superintendent and the business manager made a presentation, and they've, as we discussed earlier, Frank Antonelli's done a superb job at studying the school budget. I believe the projection that what he had said at the last finance committee meeting is they're looking now. There's some other issues that have come to light and regarding contract services, substitutes, different things, contract services. He's projecting they were a projected deficit somewhere, I believe, around $700,000 or so. So it's a little concerning, but that's where we are on that.
Yeah.
And then obviously there's been the whole issue with the personnel issue with the former business manager.
Yes.
And now the next stage is to go forward with the search committee. And,
Yes, yeah. Annita spoke about that at a school committee meeting, which I thought you spoke very well about. Talking about qualifications that the new business person should have from your perspective.
Yeah.
Anyway, so when are our resumes due in for that position? Does anybody know?
The first kickoff meeting, the superintendent had invited and both myself and Darlene Lucy, our town accountant, to join and be a part of the search committee, which we appreciate. The kickoff meeting is February 18th. So
For that meeting, and then
For that
so are
meeting.
you basically going to put together the requirements at that time? The kind
well,
of like
the school committees or the superintendent has put together on, and I believe it's advertised on schoolspring.com, a list of all the requisites for the job and the preferred qualifications. Will be at this first meeting. I'm sure that Frank will be introducing. The Superintendent Tiano will be introducing everyone and describing the process. He's sent out a calendar for the whole timeline for the process. So.
Yeah. So when do you think we'll have the new business manager on board?
I believe from the calendar that I saw, the goal was to be able to present them to the town publicly by the end of April.
So maybe at our
If I'm
town
remembering the
meeting?
calendar correctly.
But it won't have to be approved by town meeting, of course, right?
No,
So-
just to
but maybe
publicly
at that
present
time.
them at
Yeah,
that time.
that'd be nice, yeah. So you mentioned the school business manager, the former one, and I read in the Lowell Sun that the town is kind of giving her $25,000 or something like that, and could you summarize what went on with that?
I just want to start by saying I wasn't involved in that
Yeah.
in my capacity as finance director. All my knowledge is what I've learned from reading the press in the Lowell Sun. My understanding from reading the Sun is that a separation agreement was negotiated and accepted by both the superintendent and the former business manager.
Yeah.
It basically provided her with 2 months of compensation beyond her resignation date of in early January.
Yeah.
And I think the total for that and 10 unused vacation days was about $25,000 gross pay.
Yeah.
So I know there's been some
So-
discussion in the press on that.
Yeah, some people were a little dismayed that we couldn't see all the details about what she had to say, what Frank had to say about her, or whatever. Because I think what that part of that agreement was basically you can't talk about
Right.
it anymore, something like that, right? Does
Right.
anybody have any comments about that or the budget situation? I'm sure
Well,
some of you do, right? I know
um,
Maureen wanted us to get Valerie back on the job. She spoke very eloquently at town meeting about that. Valerie Diggs, that is.
On the settlement, the angry Irish side of me says I wouldn't give her a plugged nickel, but the but the practical Yankee says that we live in a very litigious society, and it's very sad.
Yeah.
And perhaps it was some sort of cost. I have no knowledge of this other than what I read in the paper. Just
Right.
sometimes maybe her lawyer said, we can milk it and you'll get some money.
Yeah.
And I just think it comes down to a cost-benefit analysis. We can keep trying to get her to resign, or this. I mean, I have no idea, but it's a shame.
Yeah.
The whole thing is a shame.
Yes.
And I agree with you. I think at a certain point, it's better to cut your losses and not deal with legal fees
Right.
and stuff like
That's
that.
what I was
I think the issue I think a lot of people are angry about is had the Valerie, the administrators not been let go, like they're comparing it to what was done in October or September,
That's right.
October. And I think, you've got to really separate
Right.
these two.
That's right.
And I think that's where you see a lot of the anger. My only issue with it that I found was I personally would not have negotiated a letter of recommendation.
right.
I know.
That really bothered me.
Yeah, that's
Reference.
true.
Was it a letter of
and to
reference
me-
rather than recommendation?
Yeah,
Preference,
that's
or
true.
I wouldn't have negotiated either one because to me, I couldn't.
Right.
To me, that means I would have to either, in order to do that, I would have to truly believe what I'm
Writing.
recommending, and if I
Right.
didn't believe it, then I couldn't lie.
You're
My
right, you're
guess
right.
is, and I don't know this, but in my past life when I actually worked for a living, when people worked for you, the party line is when you did a reference or recommendation, you would say, Kathy Duffett worked for you from blah to
That's
blah.
what I'm
Thank
expecting.
you.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just
yeah.
That's
right.
Right,
Yeah.
that's it.
Just
And
a
then they
statement
say you
of
don't
fact,
say
not a
anything. I can
recommendation.
Not a
confirm
recommendation. Right.
Right.
that Kathy Duffett worked for us, joining us,
Right.
and blah, 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 and she ceased to work for us on blah,
Yes.
blah. Thank you.
That would be good, because then you're not lying.
That's
And I-
like the
right.
standard.
You're right. I
That's
agree.
the standard thing that
Yeah.
if you've ever had anybody who worked for you and you're asked that, that's what your company would always say.
That's
to
right.
you.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I'm
I
not
have
sure-
I have no idea if that's the case.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
I
not
don't
sure
know.
the value of that letter, given all that's gone on, but.
Yeah.
Right.
I
Right.
mean,
Right,
you know,
exactly.
I know, but John,
That
to me,
5
that's
cents,
just something I couldn't
Oh, yeah.
never sign off on.
Yeah.
I just personally, if I didn't truly believe,
Right.
Right.
and that's just, and my, to me, comes down to ethics.
Oh,
Like,
yes,
if I
yeah.
didn't believe in
You
something that I
wouldn't-
couldn't put my signature
You
on
wouldn't
it.
put your signature to something that was untrue, basically,
Yeah.
you're saying, and I agree with you. I think that's unethical to do that. I think
Yeah,
it's
that's
wrong.
why we don't believe it was a letter of recommendation.
Right, it might be like
We're
what
not
Kathy was saying.
recommending.
Use it. I
Right,
think
it's
Kathy's
just, I think so,
illustration
right.
Yeah,
A
just
reference
probably the-
saying, that's what she was doing during those years.
Right.
This is
She
where
was
she was
employed
employed.
as X.
Right.
And it was proof that she worked.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I totally agree
Right.
with Annita on settling, because if you went through the legal fees, you would have been into
I
the
know.
hundreds and
Yeah,
thousands
I
of
know.
I know, that's the unfortunate
money.
thing.
That is the
You get-
unfortunate thing.
you kind of
know,
over a
and this
barrel,
way
as
here,
they say.
know.
They-
get it over with.
Yeah, and cut the
You know,
costs, you cut your
Yeah.
losses.
The 10 days, that's part of her contract anyway.
Right.
We have that
That's
in
right.
most of the contracts with
Right.
all the, that they can buy back,
Yeah.
as we say, buy back their unused sick leave. We don't have that too much anymore. I don't think she was grandfathered in that.
No, I think
And
she
then
had
the
different
vacation
Vacation.
days though, so I
Yeah.
don't know what that amounts to.
Right.
Yes.
You know, but it's over
Well,
with, you know what I'm saying? It's-
Yeah, so we're
Start
getting there. And
fresh.
Yeah.
Did I read that the school committee is submitting something like a $53 million budget for FY16?
That's their preliminary budget,
That's
yes,
right.
that was
Okay.
revealed.
So what happens then? It goes through the finance committee or the town manager and
I
everything?
think what's going to happen now, I think what they voted, right? There's some confusion in that.
Yeah,
you,
that's-
you interrupt me at will. So that they asked for was Mr. Antonelli to go through and give them a zero, start at the beginning, every line item, make sure everything was attributed correctly, what is the cost, and present it to them. So that's what he did, and they accepted that. Now they've got to go through their discussion and determine what are we going to present to the town. That's my
Right.
interpretation of it.
And I would agree with that. The only thing that was a little concerning is that it was presented as, I know as we're developing the budget on the town side, we're doing a level service budget, which means no new personnel and no new programs. The $53 million budget was a level service with enhancements, as it was called. I know there's a couple of positions that are required for English language learners, but I think the other ones seriously have to be looked at, because where we are with the revenue picture, I don't see us being able to go beyond level service.
Well, John, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe I read that the 3 positions which were eliminated a few months ago by the superintendent, for example, Valerie Diggs is a library type, are in that new budget. For
Right, that's been
$53 million.
restored, so,
So is-
I
are those
shouldn't say
positions-
restored, they're included into, the
So that's
proposal
3
is to
new
bring them
positions, you
back.
might say,
In
'cause
the
of-
enhancement
In the
section.
enhancements.
So that's called
Enhancements.
enhancements. So that's 3 new positions, though, that aren't working
Right.
at the school right now.
And there were proposals to add for the business office as
Right.
well,
Yeah.
so there were
Yeah.
beyond that, but.
But for the 3 new positions, can the town really afford them, is my question. Does anybody know?
Well, it won't be the town, it will be the school budget. I think when
Well, I mean, out of
when
our-
the
That's what I mean. the town-
message gets through that the 53 million is too high, then whatever figure our town manager gives, and I want to say that our town manager has been fantastic every year. 1.5%, 2%, maybe sometimes 2.5%, increase over the previous year's budget. You live within that. If they want those positions, which I know one that's crucial, and the one that I feel is very crucial, I'll get back to the other one. I know what you is the science one, because the state is going to start testing in science. You need someone to, and
That was a coordinator position,
yes,
wasn't
it was.
Okay.
But whatever you want to
So that person
call
would
'em,
coordinate all the
all the
science teachers and
sciences,
everything?
And Mr. Taranto, even going further than that,
Yeah.
right? Look at where the students are going to go to work. They're
Right.
going to work in Massachusetts,
Right, that's
hopefully,
right, that's right.
And what are we good at?
Yeah.
The biotech industry, the amount of money that venture is putting into biotechs is
Right.
huge here.
Yes.
So we have to be investing in science and
Right,
mathematics.
exactly.
Right, that's what's I mean, the others, don't get me wrong, are important, but
No,
you've
they
got to
are.
look at where the jobs are too.
That's
that
right,
you're
that's right.
preparing these kids to go out and work and be in.
Yes,
So
yes.
I agree with
So
you.
what-
And
One
I
of-
think on the coordinator, I'm sorry, but on the coordinator thing, it's so important. Angie and I work so hard for people to understand what
What
the
a coordinator
coordinator
does,
does
Right.
and the
yes.
value. And to have those positions eliminated was very sad to me,
couldn't-
because it
yeah.
undercut the necessity of it. And you want your teachers to be very strong, and an actual coordinator skilled in that topic area evaluates the teachers and then brings in the programs, and that's what keeps your
right.
programs robust and
Right,
exciting.
yeah.
And John made some great innovations to our science program.
Yes, he
in
did.
that
Yeah.
freshmen you could go right into biology, and therefore you're set up for the advanced science track.
Exactly.
Whereas before you'd have to start with the physics, the freshman physical science, whatever. So
Right.
he in particular made some
He did.
strong
He did.
enhancements to our science program.
Is he the one who found another position in Lowell? Oh, no.
No,
No,
that
that's
was
the
the
English
English
coordinator. I
So
don't
maybe
know her.
that man, if he hasn't found a job, might come back into the school system next year if it's in the budget.
I don't
I would
know.
have no idea.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I think
We
he may
don't
have
know.
already. This may be
May-
he may have already retired from another stage. I can't remember, but
Oh, I see.
I know
Yeah,
it was.
I think
I
he
liked him
has,
very
yeah.
much, and he made some strong
was. He
enhancements.
did-
so
he
I
did a
can't
good
speak to his
job, you
personal
know.
Oh,
life.
I see,
Yeah.
yeah.
And of course,
I don't-
the librarian situation is
Yes.
tremendous there. I mean, the what's the
Learning
outfit?
Commons.
The accreditation.
Yeah,
You
yes,
need
that's
to
right.
have a librarian.
Right.
Yeah, so what about that,
Yeah,
Maureen?
so
What could
maybe
we-
Well,
Maureen
okay,
could-
so this is how I would describe it. I would describe that those positions were in this year's budget, that what came out of town meeting last year included those. So when you're talking about a level funded budget, I would think about that was first. But what happened was when the bills were not paid, they didn't turn to funds that they subsequently turned to, which was school choice and the
Circuit breaker.
Circuit breaker.
Thank you. They did turn to those, so that at town meeting, when we restored the budget, I was expecting those positions to be restored. And because they weren't, then that means there was $450,000 shortfall from what our original budget was. Otherwise, they would have come back. But that $450,000 had to go somewhere else. We gave them $588,000 in case they went into deficit, and still they didn't bring them back. Instead, other things were paid for. Then we were told $700,000. Now I know some of that is from Mr. Antonelli's salary, and I don't think there's anyone in town that is going to argue about that. And I know that's part of the 700. But then 2 days later, when I'm at the FinCom meeting again, there is yet another $130,000. Now, that is staggering. And it is, to me, a bit separate from mismanagement. Now, mismanagement could be hiding that and you didn't know, and when you shake it out, you find it. But it still disturbs me that time and time again, the administration had put things in front of people when we're restoring the budget, when we're going back to what we had in the summer. The $130,000 was perhaps the final straw with me, because we're talking about a new service. We're talking about bringing in a copy center into the school, which is going to cost us $12,000 a year. The person, I don't know who, but what I heard in these meetings is that a service, there was a contract for it, but there was no PO. After
Well,
what
if I
we've
could,
come back.
What was
well,
disturbing to me is
Yes.
that when I heard about it at Finance
Yeah.
Committee is
Yes.
my understanding of the problem is that it wasn't a new service, but it's with the RICO company for copying
Okay.
services for all the schools, or it's the copier, the repairs,
Okay.
whatever, the leasing of the copiers,
Right.
which replaced Xerox, which was a long-standing contract with the Chelmsford Public
Okay.
Schools.
Okay.
But I mean, you would
But
think
there was
when
no
it's
PO
schools,
for it,
right?
so there wasn't
it's-
any money in the budget
Right, it's
for
just
it.
disturbing because it's not a new service. I mean,
Correct.
everybody that's been involved with schools knows you run copiers all the time
Right.
for
You
classroom materials.
Okay.
So I'm
that-
not faulting Frank for
Okay.
that as the interim business manager, but
No,
there's
no, it seems
obviously
he
a
was
problem
caught by
there.
surprise. It
Yeah.
seems that he found that
Yes,
there
he
was an
did. Yeah.
unfunded contract
Yeah, right.
for
Well, I
this
think-
purpose.
It's amazing.
I think when you're going, I think that's part of the positive, even though we keep getting, these setbacks of staggering news, but that's part of the positive outcome of going through this process
Right.
and having everything
Everything.
accurately accounted for and
Right.
assessed. Because then going forward, you can make business decisions based on accurate information.
That's
So I
right.
mean, I think that's the fact that now we have a strong budget document and things are being allocated correctly, you can make strong business decisions, educational decisions based on reality, not
Yes.
because I think we just have to call a spade a spade. The information that was presented before was inaccurate. I mean, I don't, a fantasy.
There's at
fantasy
least
is
two
a
things
strong word.
happening as far as I was concerned. There was such chaos on the books that it was hard to find out what was happening. But that was the basic budget, the general budget.
Right.
That, I think of that as my basic checking account. But when that ran out of money, they didn't turn to what I think of as like our savings accounts. There was money. And they decided not to use school choice money in order to reconcile this shortfall, which they did in fact have to. They
right.
did do that before coming to town meeting,
Right,
which
because-
is,
but
I think, why it went through town meeting.
Actually, the more disturbing thing, if
Mm-hmm.
you're talking about cash that is available, is not using the circuit breaker money.
I'm in
Because
agreement.
that
That's what
money
it's
is
supposed to be.
precisely made for special education.
Yes.
Which if you read anything about
Yes.
what's been going on, that is what has been putting the extra burden on a limited budget.
Yes.
So they have the funds that is
Yes.
precisely made for special education, and the fact that that wasn't accessed
Absolutely.
appropriately and spended, that is, to me, a bigger
It is.
problem of mismanagement
It
that
is.
has to be addressed between. I don't really understand all the goings on between the special ed director and the business manager, but that has been highlighted and alluded to that they weren't reconciling, and that's an addressable issue.
I know.
But
It's a mystery to
the circuit breaker money is where people should be the
Yep.
most, in my opinion,
I think
upset
so.
about.
I think that if you had taken those outstanding bills that came across that should have been paid last year that weren't, and that they were trying to pay with this year's money, a great deal of those were circuit breaker eligible.
Right, right.
And many of them were eligible for school choice money. And if they had simply paid out of the correct funds, I completely agree with you, then we wouldn't be sitting here today, I don't think,
Well,
if
also,
that had
I
happened.
Think, okay, I think, see, the school choice money cannot be used without a vote of the school committee.
School committee,
So she
right.
would have had to come forward
Yes.
and say, this is the situation.
Yes.
Which, in my opinion, she, as the actor in this thing of deleting the invoices and re-entering, I think she was like, I'm not going to go, I would have to ask to use those funds.
Yes.
So therefore, I'm not going to do it. And that's a little bit of my opinion. That is my opinion.
But another thing too, I think, where the school committee was trying to make that effort to get in a full-day kindergarten.
Right.
Yes.
And they were going to rely on that
Right.
500,000
That's what they were
and
doing.
whatever, another 100,000, whatever it was in the school choice. I mean, they had already said it the year before. We were saying it, but we could never
Oh, sure.
afford it. And when Karen Mazda did that grant, she got 288,000.
Right.
We said, oh, great. But then Karen said, it's one time.
Right.
You can't, depend on, where's that 288 going to come next
Yeah,
year
you
and the
can't
year
build a
after?
budget on it. Yeah.
So I think they were caught, like, we want the kindergarten.
Right. That's
We're getting the pressure. The state's putting pressure
No,
on
that's
us
true.
for the full-day kindergarten. And I just think it just got too involved. And now they have to use that money. And, of course, forego the full-day kindergarten again.
At the moment.
But
right,
it's,
with
you know,
that
it's a
funds.
little comforting. I don't want to say it, but I mean, Tewksbury had to let it go too, their full-day kindergarten.
No, everyone is struggling.
Which is me. It's not good, but I don't know what else you can do unless the government, the state comes across. Talking to our legislators, I mean, there's just, Angie, where are we going to get that money? You know, where's what are they in the hole for now?
700 million.
700 million?
Right.
Yeah,
You know, and I just
absolutely.
said, but you guys keep saying education is number one, education is number one.
With unfunded mandates.
With unfunded
Yeah.
mandates.
Right.
Oh, you're right there.
Special
Oh, God.
education, and that's
Did we
where
walk
we're
that
at.
Special
state house?
education being
Yeah.
the biggest of it, and that comes from the federal government.
Right, that's
There are laws
true.
on the books where the federal government is supposed to support a certain
Right.
percentage, and I don't remember those percentages, but say they said they were going to support 15%, they're only supporting 2%. There's a
it's
big,
very low.
the big
gap.
disparity from the federal down to the state, and the state down to the local. And I do want to just say, I'm glad we provide our services that are so
Yes, we do.
exceptional for our students. And I think a lot of these services are for like Title I, reading, any number of things on the spectrum. So I don't want
Absolutely.
people to say we're begrudging
Not at
people
all.
their needs. Absolutely
right.
not. We should hold our head up and be
Absolutely.
proud that
That's
we're
right.
doing what we're supposed to be
Yeah.
doing for our children.
I mean, my thought on special education, I agree. It's a state mandate. We need to provide the best education we can for all students. My issue with the whole thing on reading the Sullivan report was I think there's something wrong with the management culture in the administration offices that has to be looked at. For example, the special ed director, when he was interviewed by the forensic auditors, apparently said something to the effect that he had talked with the business office or the business manager, and he had outstanding invoices, but they said, well, there's no money, so just see you later. So
Right.
if I'm the special ed director, my next stop then, if the business manager won't listen to me, I need to go to the superintendent.
Superintendent,
And we need to
exactly.
understand the dynamics there of, what is said in these management meetings, how well do the players communicate, and I
Right.
think that's what the next phase
And
is.
it's going to be very crucial going forward if we, because it's not going to get better from a funding standpoint.
No.
It's just going to get tighter. So we
It is.
really need to watch our nickels and dimes.
Right.
And I hate to say it, but you have to be micromanaging every penny, every contract out there, because if we
do.
want to be able to give the best.
Yeah.
And we should. I'm embarrassed that Chelmsford doesn't have full-day kindergarten. We should have full-day
Yes, we should.
kindergarten.
Right.
That's
I mean,
right.
we've always been a leader. That's one of the things I'm very proud of with Chelmsford. And it pains me to know that Billerica has it, and we don't. It
You
really
know,
does.
You're saying that too, and I'll say it to you. I've said it to Sal. We need to do more public relations on where our school system is. I don't care if we're 65th in Massachusetts or we're 160. No, what are we doing in our school system? Where is our kids? Talk to the kids. I love to go to the class reunions.
Oh, yes.
That's where you get your best information. Oh, I graduated. Remember me, Mr. Taranto? Yes, I do. But I'm just saying, well, where did you go? What did you do? What did Chelmsford prepare you? I haven't heard one, in all honesty, not one student say to me, I couldn't make it in the college because I was lacking. I was ahead. I was ahead. That's got to come out.
Right.
Yeah.
People,
Yes.
that's what
got
makes
to
me
come out.
Right, we can't
actually
lose sight of
I
that.
can't lose sight of
lose sight
that. I
of
still
that.
have over 90% graduation.
right.
High 80% going to schools 4 or 2
Yep.
years, and then jobs and so forth.
I-
That's a real good
I wasn't
record.
even going to
Yes.
go to college if it wasn't for Chelmsford High.
Right.
Because when I graduated in '88, there was a board that put up your name
Yeah.
with the colleges listed.
Exactly.
And my parents being Italian only had 5 years of education, so for them 12 years was enough. They were
Enough,
proud
yeah,
of me,
yeah.
right? But it wasn't until I saw that board and I saw my friends all get excited that I wanted to go, right? And that's the culture, right? That I went and approached a teacher and I said, how do I do that? And he helped me. And that teacher's still there, so you know.
Could you say who that is?
Yes, Russo.
Oh,
Yep,
good.
he's still there.
Rob Russo.
Could I ask what
He's
college
great.
you went to?
I went to UMass. He
Oh,
helped me
nice.
fill out my
In
college
Lowell or-
in Lowell.
Nice,
Yep.
nice.
Rob's a great guy.
He did. I
He's-
didn't know what I was, I didn't even know what major meant. And he said, well, what do you like to do?
That's so
And I said, business. And he said, how about we put you into management? And
Yeah.
and that's, and again,
Exactly,
that's
exactly.
how Chelmsford is. My husband went to a tech school in the state. And when he went to his guidance counselor and said, I want to go to college, they said, well, you're not really that smart for it. You're not.
Oh,
That's
wow.
the advice. So that tells you, that's why, that's what Chelmsford's about. It embraces you. It makes you, it says, yeah, you can do it. He subsequently did go to school, and he went to college, and that's where we met.
Oh.
But that, I mean,
It
don't take it
depends,
for
right.
granted.
That's
Not
right.
all
Right.
schools are made the
That's
same.
it.
And
They
that's
do.
what we're.
They're committed. They're committed. And another thing too, which is not my second point, but I can get on the soapbox, is that I don't want anybody, and you as a candidate and Sal as a candidate, to forget down here where the teachers, they have not given up. They are doing a
Yeah.
hell of
yes.
a job
That's right.
to
Right.
get these kids where they are and then be able to make their decisions to go on.
Yeah.
People talk about our SAT scores. Fine. I had to take it 3 times. That goes way back, but. But
Well, you know what the thing is
it's
on the SAT scores?
yeah, it's
It's the kids from the affluent school districts
Yeah.
take the prep.
That's
they
right.
all get tutored.
it's in the curriculum too.
Right. And so now
It is.
now that's being promoted more, and I think you'll see the SAT scores
I
go
think so,
up.
too.
But you really are competing. It's like the old days. The SATs were set up for white, affluent men. Was who was supposed to take the SATs when it
Really?
started. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
really
no,
the
that's
role
true.
model.
Because they were going to
And
college.
so
They were the ones to go to
the
college.
kids who aren't, Yale bound or whatever, they may not be taking prep classes
That's
or
right.
whatever. But I think what they always show is the average. And what they really should show to give an accurate assessment is, okay, let's just take the top 20% of the class and list their SAT scores.
Yes.
Because you'll be shocked.
Yeah.
And surprised. And to that point about the message board, so my daughter went to Chelmsford High. She did fabulously on her SATs. And but we were at Lexington High, and they don't have a board encouraging you where you go to school. They have this board where you put up your rejection letters from your colleges.
Really?
And they have, and then other kids will write encouraging things. Oh, they missed out. But all these rejection letters. So when Sarah was a senior and we went to Lexington High for some orchestra, thing, I'm looking at the board, drinking my cup of coffee, and I'm thinking, she's been accepted at all these schools.
That's good. See?
But more importantly, I thought, I don't like this attitude.
Yeah.
That's
I
the point.
like-
That wouldn't that put a kid down?
So that,
I
like
would
me
think so.
being lost in the
Yeah,
system,
you would have put
I
you
would have been
down.
lost.
But I would have thought, I don't want my name on the rejection
right?
board.
Like that
You would have
tells you.
said, "See,
Right.
I
See,
know
I'm
I'm
not
right. Why should I go?"
Right, yeah.
Oh
Isn't that
wow, I
funny?
never heard
Thank
of
God
that.
you
Well, they think of it as like a supported thing.
that's
like,
why.
you're still great, but these are your rejection letters. I'm like, I don't like that.
'Cause, did you commute from home as well?
Yeah, so I
Annita?
never lived any place else but Chelmsford. Like I didn't even go
wow.
away to go to school because we couldn't afford it. But it was.
Yeah.
And you did well in college?
I-
did
yeah,
you-
I
did you do
really-
it? And then you went for your master's right away, or
I went to
after
work.
that? Went to work for a while?
And then, your work can pay up to a certain point.
That's
And
right.
I, applied to a couple private schools, but made the financial decision that I didn't want to go into debt. So the only school that I could get a master's and not go into debt, where my company would pay 100%, including books,
Oh, wow. Wow.
was UMass Lowell. So I got my MBA from that. So I walked away with, if you talk
Wow.
about return on investment,
Yeah,
right?
that's fantastic
That
because
is
today
fantastic.
a lot of kids are going with huge college debts,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The cost of college. I have a friend going to MIT. He went to MIT. His son's going there. $60,000 a year. No scholarships or anything. It's costing him a fortune. And that's just undergraduate school, right? Imagine graduate school, then
Yeah.
whatever. But you're so fortunate. Thank God you did that. That was very smart. So it shows how you could handle money very well.
Yeah.
I know you-
You don't have much choice when you don't have it.
That's
so-
right. That's right.
And so
Make
we
the
only have a
best.
few minutes left, but you want to talk a little bit more about your campaign? How's that going? Are you going to make? You made some buttons, right? You're going to make cards. You're going to have a mailing.
Yeah,
You
we're
can-
good. I'm learning all about this. Yeah, we're doing signs.
Signs.
And,
Well, you're going to have sign hold. What, 3 weeks before the election? You could start with sign holding,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So Saturdays in the center, you might be
Yep.
there till noon or something.
Yep.
With some of your campaign workers.
My kids are
do you
all
have a good
involved.
number? Oh, good.
Yep,
Do you have a
they're-
good number of volunteers too?
I
to
do.
help
I do.
out?
There's a lot of parents out there, and my kids are handing out buttons at school. I've gotten,
Oh,
they're
well-
really involved in it too, which
Well,
is
hopefully
exciting.
they don't waste the buttons, though.
No.
I mean, because they're expensive
Yeah.
to make these things, right?
Yeah.
So that's wonderful, Anita. And just to let everybody know that we're always fair on the show. Sal is scheduled to be on this show on March 10th, which is about 4 weeks from today. And on my next show, we have 2 selectmen candidates scheduled. Laura Merrill, I think that's her name.
Yeah, Laura Merrill,
and
right.
Lou Marino. And Frank Tiano's wife is scheduled to be on the show, Mary Tiano.
Oh, nice.
Which is nice. She's been on the show many times. Not too much lately, though.
Is she?
And also a library trustee candidate, Donna Newcomb, is scheduled
Yep.
to be on that show. So we got a
She's
lot
up
of.
for election.
So anything else about your campaign you want to talk about? I know we talked about the party coming up March
Yeah.
1st.
Yep.
It's
yeah,
exciting,
great.
though?
Yeah,
Everything's
yeah.
going well?
It's a lot of fun, and it's I guess one of the great things which I didn't expect was how involved and how great it is to see my kids excited about it.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
that's
nice.
wonderful.
So I
They're
hope
nice.
right.
excited about it.
So it's not only just me, but it's getting them involved,
Yeah.
and even my parents. My father.
Right.
Well, you saw him. You
Yeah,
met
yeah.
him, right?
Oh,
all.
they're very, and
you know,
both your parents were very.
Because even like in
helpful.
Italy, coming from where they came from, people complain, but people don't get involved in
Involved,
politics,
right,
right? It's
yeah.
very,
Wow.
it's
Yeah.
crooked, and
Yeah.
and this is kind of
Right.
like this is what America's about. So
Yes.
it's nice to
Oh,
yeah.
it's wonderful, yeah.
It is good.
You should
Well-
embrace it and enjoy every moment. Have fun.
It
Yes,
is. It
Be
I
is.
do
true to
too.
yourself,
Yeah.
Have
Yeah.
fun, embrace it.
Win or lose, you've
Enjoy it.
gained.
I've gained.
You've gained.
I've
I don't
gained.
care what
And the
you've
town
gained.
has gained.
Oh,
The town
I
has
And the
tell you.
gained.
town has gained too.
And we've gained a lot in this hour, I think. And unfortunately, it zipped by kind of quickly.
Over?
Our hour is up. I can't believe it. Thank you so much, John Sousa, for being here again
My
and for
pleasure.
doing
Thank you.
such a great job here as a finance director in Chelmsford. You and Darlene and everybody in the Chelmsford offices do such a great job.
I
Thank
appreciate that. We have a great team.
you. Yes, you do. Thank
you
you.
too.
And thank you, Kathy Duffett, for being here again.
Going for 20.
One more time. It's got to be very soon because you have to make this prestigious list. It's on an index card, so you can tell how prestigious it is. But no, there's only a few. We've been doing the show, by the way, it's almost 20 years now. April, it'll be
Is it 20 years?
years, yeah. So the time flew by.
Wow.
But so Kathy, you've been on some of my anniversary shows, I think.
Yes.
When you were chairperson of the school committee, because I have this wall of fame and of all the anniversary shows kind of on my wall in the house and everything. So Kathy's on that wall of fame. I call it
I might have had dark hair at the time.
Yeah. I like it better natural.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for being here, Kathy. Thank you very much, Anita, for being here. It was fun, right?
Yeah, it was great, and I hope I get to come back.
Oh, many times, hopefully. No, we'd love to have you back. Good luck with your campaign.
Thank you.
And hopefully you'll be on the show many more times in the future.
Great, thank you.
Thanks. And thank you very much, Angie
My
Taranto,
pleasure.
for being
It's
here.
always
It's
fun
always
to be
fun.
here.
And thank you very much, Maureen.
Thanks for having me.
Hopefully many more times you'll be on the show. Thank you for this wonderful crew. Tom and Kieran and Larry and our director, Pete Padula. Thanks for watching the show. Ciao. Wow, I just got it.